You know that moment when your husband casually admits to funding his mistress's lifestyle with your dead grandmother's money, and then orders dessert? Yeah. Tuesday, March 14th. Romano's Steakhouse in Scottsdale. Our 10-year anniversary dinner. Grayson, my husband, my partner, the man who once cried watching The Notebook, was 3 bourbons deep and apparently decided honesty was the best policy. Or maybe he just got cocky. Hard to tell with narcissists. "That inheritance your grandma left you?" he said, swirling his glass like he was in a whiskey commercial. "The 50 grand. I spent it all on Sienna." Sienna, his nutritionist. The 28-year-old with the metabolism of a hummingbird and the moral compass of a broken GPS. I just sat there, knife in one hand, medium-rare filet in the other. The couple at the next table was celebrating their engagement. The bartender was laughing at something. Life just kept moving while mine did that record scratch thing. 2 trips to Cancun, Grayson continued, because apparently we weren't done. That gold bracelet she's always wearing. New furniture for her apartment. Oh, and I covered 3 months of her rent when she was between clients. He actually did air quotes. Air quotes. The waiter chose that exact moment to ask if we wanted to see the dessert menu. I'm Shelby Bryant, 35 years old, owner of nothing yet, but that was about to change. And here's what Grayson, in all his bourbon-soaked brilliance, didn't know. Grandma Elsie wasn't just rich. She was strategic. That woman survived the Depression, 2 terrible husbands, and 3 recessions. She didn't just leave me money, she left me a plan. See, those $50,000 Grayson spent? That was what I call the idiot fund, the bait, the test. Because the real inheritance, the 3 million sitting in an untouchable trust fund, could only be accessed under 2 conditions. I turned 35, or I divorced him for infidelity, whichever came first. And here's the beautiful part. I just turned 35 3 weeks ago, but filing for divorce due to infidelity would trigger immediate access to the full trust, bypassing all the normal probate waiting periods. Grandma's lawyer had structured it that way intentionally. She wanted me to have options and ammunition. Grandma Elsie knew men like Grayson before I was born. She'd met him exactly twice before she died 14 years ago. And after the second meeting, she pulled me aside and said, "That one's a peacock, sweetheart. All show, no substance. If he's still around when you're 35, you'll know what kind of man he really is." She'd called them peacocks. All show, no substance, and absolutely guaranteed to cheat if given half a chance and a younger woman's phone number. But back to Romano's. Back to my husband confessing financial infidelity, like he was admitting he forgot to take out the trash. "You're not saying anything," Grayson observed, finally noticing my silence. What was I supposed to say? Thank you for the honesty? Congrats on the affair? Hope Sienna's squat form is improving? Instead, I took a sip of my wine, a 2015 Camus Cabernet that cost more than Sienna's monthly car payment, and asked, "Does she know you're married?" "Of course she knows." He had the audacity to look offended. "I'm not a liar, Shell." "Right, not a liar, just a cheater, a thief, and apparently a comedian." "We've been together 8 months," he added, like I'd asked for a relationship timeline. "It just happened. You've been so focused on your art gallery dreams, and Sienna gets me. She supports my goals." My art gallery dreams. The business I'd been planning with my inheritance. The one I'd been sketching plans for since before Grandma died. The one Grayson called cute every time I brought it up, like I was playing pretend entrepreneur. Here's what else Grayson didn't know. I'd been documenting everything. Every late-night client dinner. Every weekend golf tournament in cities that don't have golf courses. Every receipt I found in his jacket pocket from hotels that definitely weren't on his corporate travel itinerary. I wasn't stupid. I was prepared. Because here's the thing about growing up with Grandma Elsie. She taught me that hope is great, but documentation is better. "So what happens now?" I asked. Calm. So calm the waiter probably thought we were discussing Netflix recommendations. Grayson shrugged. Actually, shrugged. "I don't know. I felt like I owed you the truth. Maybe we could open up the marriage?" Sienna suggested it. She's very progressive. Oh, Sienna suggested it. How helpful of Sienna. The couple next to us was kissing. The guy had just slipped a ring on her finger. Nothing fancy, maybe a carrot, but she was crying happy tears. I remembered being that girl. Remembered thinking Grayson and I would be different. That we'd beat the statistics. That love and communication and couples therapy after that rough patch in year 7 would be enough. Turned out, couples therapy just taught Grayson better vocabulary to gaslight me with. I need to use the restroom, I said, standing up. Grayson nodded, already eyeing the dessert menu the waiter had left. In the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror. 35 years old, 10 years married, 0 kids because Grayson kept saying, "Not yet, let's travel more, let's get established." Meanwhile, he was getting very established with Sienna. My phone buzzed. A text from my friend Dakota. "How's anniversary dinner? Did he finally apologize for forgetting last year?" I typed back. He confessed to spending my inheritance on his mistress. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Dakota. "I'm calling the hitman." Me. "Save your money, I've got this." Because here's what 10 years of marriage to a narcissist teaches you. They always underestimate you. They think you're too nice, too dependent, too invested in the fantasy to burn it all down. They forget that nice girls who smile through family dinners and play perfect wife at corporate events? We're not weak. We're strategic. I walked back to the table. Grayson had ordered the chocolate lava cake, to share, how romantic, and was scrolling through his phone, probably texting Sienna about how honest he'd been with me. "I think we should take some time apart," I said, sitting down. He looked up, surprised. "Really? I thought you'd be more upset." "Oh, I'm upset," I assured him. "I'm just processing." "That's mature of you, Shell. Really mature." He reached across the table for my hand. I let him take it. Maybe this is what we needed. Some honesty, some space. We can figure this out. Figure this out. Like it was a Rubik's Cube and not a 10-year marriage he'd just admitted to demolishing. "Yeah," I said. "We'll figure it out." The chocolate lava cake arrived. Grayson dug in. I pushed it around with my fork, watching him, thinking about Grandma Elsie and her 2-trust strategy. The first trust, the $50,000 Grayson knew about, had been set up as a joint account 2 years into our marriage. Grandma's lawyer had insisted. "If he's a good man, he won't touch it," she'd said. "If he's not, well, then you'll know." Turns out, I knew. The second trust, the $2.3 million Grayson had no idea existed, was ironclad. Untouchable, except under specific circumstances, all laid out in documents he'd never bothered to read when we got married because, "Trusts are so depressing, babe. Let's just enjoy being young." 3 days. I'd give myself 3 days to get everything lined up. Then Grayson Bryant was going to learn that some grandmas raise warriors, not victims. And Sienna? Well, Sienna was about to learn that nutritionists don't make enough to cover the lifestyle of a cheating corporate manager with expensive tastes and a now empty bank account. "This is really good cake," Grayson said. "It really is," I agreed. Best $50,000 dessert I never paid for. Wednesday morning, Grayson left for work like nothing had happened, kissed my forehead, said, "Love you, babe," on his way out. Like he hadn't just confessed to financial adultery over a $100 steak the night before. I waited until his BMW pulled out of the driveway. Then I got to work. First stop, Martha Caldwell, divorce attorney. Not just any divorce attorney, the divorce attorney. The one who'd handled 3 NFL divorces and that messy situation with the tech CEO and his executive assistant. Her office was in North Scottsdale, all glass and steel and intimidation. "Mrs. Bryant," she said, reviewing the notes I'd sent ahead. "Your grandmother was a smart woman. She really was. And your husband spent $50,000 on his mistress believing it was your inheritance? Every penny." Martha smiled. Not a friendly smile, a shark smile. "Here's what's beautiful about Arizona law. It's a community property state. That joint account? Legally, it was half his money anyway. Which means he spent $25,000 of his own money, plus $25,000 of your money, on his girlfriend." I blinked. "Wait, so So he thought he was spending purely your inheritance money, but legally, half of it was his to begin with. He essentially robbed himself and you. She leaned back in her leather chair. The beautiful irony is that he believed he was stealing from you exclusively, which proves intent and makes the infidelity case even stronger. But the real trust fund is yours exclusively, established before marriage, with clear documentation that it's separate property. He has zero claim to it. And better yet, she pulled out another document. Your grandmother included an infidelity clause. If you can prove adultery, you keep the house too. The house. The 4-bedroom suburban palace in Desert Ridge that I'd bought 8 years ago, 2 years into our marriage, with money from Grandma's first trust distribution. The house where Grayson had built his man cave and his golf simulator and his precious home bar setup, all on my property. How much proof do I need? I asked. What do you have? I opened my phone. Showed her the folder I'd been building for 8 months. Text messages I'd recovered from the iCloud he didn't know I had access to. Credit card statements showing charges at Victoria's Secret. I wear Calvin Klein, thanks. Hotel receipts. Restaurant reservations for 2 at places we'd never been together. And my personal favorite, a video from Dakota's friend Riley, who'd been at the same Cancun resort in January. Grayson and Sienna. Poolside. Very much not discussing macronutrients. Martha's shark smile got wider. Mrs. Bryant, this is what we call a slam dunk. How fast can we move? I can file by Friday. He'll be served by Monday. 3 days. Exactly the timeline I'd given myself. Do it, I said. That afternoon, I did something I'd been putting off for 8 months. I visited Grandma Elsie's grave. She was buried in Greenacres Cemetery, under an oak tree she'd picked out herself before she died. Hey, Grandma, I said, sitting on the grass. So, you were right. About everything. About Grayson. About the test. About waiting. A breeze moved through the oak leaves. Probably just wind. Probably. The thing is, I continued, I feel stupid. Like, how did I not see it? 8 months he was with her. 8 months of working late and client dinners and golf weekends. How did I become that wife? The clueless one everyone pities? I thought about all the corporate events I'd attended. All the times I'd smiled next to Grayson while he networked. All the wives who'd given me those looks. The ones I'd thought were judgmental, but now realized were sympathetic. They'd known, or suspected. But here's what I'm realizing, I said. I wasn't clueless. I was strategic, like you taught me. I documented everything. I kept the receipts, literally, and now I'm going to use them. Thursday, Grayson came home with flowers. Grocery store flowers, not even from the nice florist. Carnations. I'm allergic to carnations. We've been married 10 years. Peace offering, he said, for dropping that bomb on you at dinner. I know it was a lot. A lot. Spending my inheritance on your mistress was a lot. Like forgetting our anniversary was a lot. Like that time he accidentally gave my concert tickets to his coworker was a lot. They're lovely, I said, immediately putting them in the trash. I'm actually allergic, remember? Oh, right. He didn't even look embarrassed. Well, the thought counts, right? The thought. What thought? The thought that carnations exist and women like flowers? Absolutely, I said. Very thoughtful. He opened the fridge, looking for the leftover pot roast. The pot roast I'd fed to our neighbor's dog because I was done playing housewife to a man who couldn't even remember my allergies. Where's the roast? He asked. Went bad, I lied. Food poisoning risk. We just made it Sunday. Exactly. 4 days is too long for pork. It was beef. Oops. Right, beef. Still risky. Grayson ordered Thai food. We ate in silence. Well, he ate. I pushed pad thai around my plate and mentally calculated how much of the furniture in this house was legally mine. Answer: almost all of it, including the couch he was sitting on. Friday morning, I watched Martha file the divorce papers electronically. It's done, she said over the phone. He'll be served at his office Monday afternoon. His office? I asked. You didn't want home service, did you? Actually, no. Office service was perfect. Maximum humiliation. All his coworkers would see. All the people he'd lied to about his perfect marriage would know. That weekend, Grayson announced he was going to a sales conference in Vegas. A sales conference that, according to his company's website, didn't exist. "Have fun," I said. "You're not upset I'm missing our Saturday?" He actually sounded surprised. Our Saturday, the day we usually meal prep together. The routine he'd started skipping 8 months ago because suddenly he was too busy or too tired, or Sienna says meal prep is actually bad for metabolic flexibility. Sienna says. I'd been hearing that phrase a lot lately. Sienna says intermittent fasting is better. Sienna says couples need independence. Sienna says emotional availability is overrated. "I'll survive," I told him. He left Friday night. I spent the weekend boxing up his stuff. Not obviously, just organizing. His golf clubs near the door, his clothes in separate drawers, his precious bourbon collection in crates in the garage. Preparing. Saturday afternoon, Dakota came over with wine. Real wine. Not the cheap stuff Grayson bought because he couldn't tell the difference anyway. "You're really doing this," she said. "I'm really doing this. And you're okay?" Was I okay? I was about to blow up my 10-year marriage, publicly humiliate my husband, and potentially destroy his reputation at work. "I'm great," I said, and I meant it. Because here's what I'd realized sitting at that anniversary dinner. I hadn't been happy in years. I'd been comfortable. There's a difference. Happiness is waking up excited about your day. Comfort is just not being uncomfortable enough to change things. I'd been comfortable with a man who forgot my allergies, dismissed my dreams, and spent my inheritance on a woman who thought macros was a personality trait. Well, comfort was over. Sunday night, Grayson came home smelling like coconut sunscreen and someone else's perfume. Not even Sienna's usual scent. Something cheaper. Apparently, Vegas Grayson was even less discriminating than Scottsdale Grayson. "Good conference?" I asked. "Very productive," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Productive. Sure." He went to bed early. I stayed up, watching the clock tick toward Monday. Toward the moment a process server would walk into Grayson's office at Harper & Associates, interrupt whatever meeting he was in, and hand him papers that would change everything. I imagined his face, the confusion, then the panic, then the anger. Then, and this was my favorite part, the realization that I'd been 10 steps ahead the entire time. Grandma Elsie used to say, "The best revenge isn't getting mad, it's getting even, with interest." Well, Grandma, I was about to collect, with 10 years of interest compounded daily. Monday, March 20th, 2:15 p.m. I was at Target buying storage containers, because apparently I handle emotional trauma through organization, when my phone rang. Martha Caldwell. Right on schedule. "He's been served," she said. No preamble, just facts. I loved this woman. And according to my process server, he turned an impressive shade of purple. Started yelling about how this was a mistake, how he needed to call you, how we couldn't do this. Security had to escort him to a conference room. I stood in the storage aisle, holding a pack of drawer dividers, imagining the scene. Grayson, in his pressed suit and expensive tie, getting handed divorce papers in front of his entire sales team. The same people he'd told about his supportive wife, and his solid marriage, and his work-life balance. "Did anyone film it?" I asked. "Because I'm petty, and I've made peace with that." Martha laughed. "Unfortunately, no. But apparently the receptionist said, and I quote, 'It was better than The Bachelor.'" My phone started buzzing. Grayson. Then again. Then again. "He's calling me," I said. "Don't answer. Let him sit with it. We want him panicked when he calls his lawyer." So I didn't answer. I finished my Target run, got the storage containers, some new sheets because I was burning the old ones, and a fancy candle that cost $40 because I could. Then I went to Starbucks, ordered the most complicated drink I could think of, and sat outside watching Scottsdale go about its day. Grayson called 17 times. 17. I counted. By call 18, I figured Martha had made her point. I answered. "What the hell, Shelby?" Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I can explain." Not, "I messed up." Just immediate anger, typical. Hi, honey, I said, extra sweet. How was work? Are you serious right now? I just got served with divorce papers at my office, in front of everyone. Oh, those came through? Martha said Monday, but I wasn't sure about the timing. Silence. Then, Martha? Martha Caldwell? You hired Martha Caldwell? She came highly recommended. She's the most expensive divorce attorney in Arizona. I know, isn't it great? I took a sip of my unnecessarily complicated caramel macchiato with extra foam and oat milk. She's very thorough. Shelby, this is insane. We can work this out. I made a mistake, okay? I told you the truth and now I'm what? Respecting myself? Setting boundaries? Following through on consequences? More silence. Grayson wasn't used to this version of me. The version who didn't smile through his nonsense. The version who actually had a spine. Where are you? He demanded. Out. Out where? Does it matter? I'm coming home. We need to talk about this. Actually, I said, watching a bird steal someone's sandwich crust, you should probably stay with Sienna tonight, since you've been practically living there anyway. How did I know? Grayson, I've known for 8 months. The Cancun trips you thought I didn't notice. The charges at hotels here in Scottsdale, which, by the way, is just lazy. If you're going to cheat, at least be creative. The perfume on your shirts that definitely isn't mine. The way you started showering immediately when you got home instead of after dinner like you always did. I could hear him breathing, processing, realizing that I'd been about 50 steps ahead this entire time. You knew. His voice was smaller now. I documented everything. Every receipt. Every lie. Every time you said you were working late but your assistant told me you'd left at 4. Every time you said you were golfing but your golf buddies wondered where you were. I've got text messages, videos, credit card statements, and my personal favorite, a statement from Riley, Dakota's friend, who saw you and Sienna at the Excellence Playa Mujeres resort in January, making out in the infinity pool. Very classy, by the way. Silence. The house is mine, I continued. Separate property, bought during our marriage but with my premarital trust money. The $50,000 you spent? Half was technically yours anyway as community property, which makes this even more pathetic. You spent your own money plus mine. But here's my favorite part. The part you're going to love. What part? He sounded sick. Grandma Elsie didn't just leave me $50,000. More silence. Longer this time. What are you talking about? She left me $2.3 million in a separate trust. Untouchable. Established before we got married. You know that boring paperwork you didn't want to read when we went to the lawyer before the wedding? The stuff you said was too depressing and you trusted me to handle? I heard something crash on his end. Phone dropping maybe. Or his entire worldview shattering. The $50,000 was a test, Grayson. Grandma called it the idiot fund. She wanted to see what kind of man you really were. And guess what? You failed. Spectacularly. You've had millions this whole time? This whole time. While you were telling me my art gallery dream was cute. While you were saying we couldn't afford a vacation. While you were claiming we needed to save money for kids. Kids you never actually wanted, by the way. I had $2.3 million. Why didn't you tell me? And there it was. The question that proved he'd learned absolutely nothing. Because it's mine, not ours. Mine. Grandma left it specifically to me with conditions. Conditions that, congratulations, you just helped me meet. What conditions? I could access it at 35, which I just turned 3 weeks ago, or immediately upon filing for divorce due to infidelity, whichever came first. Filing for divorce triggers immediate access, bypassing all the waiting periods. So really, you did me a favor. Gave me instant access instead of making me wait for probate. I could practically hear his brain short-circuiting, trying to calculate, trying to figure out if he could claim any of it, trying to salvage something. Arizona is a community property state, he said. Whatever you earned during marriage is half mine. True. But the trust was established before marriage. It's separate property, Martha already confirmed. Your lawyer, and you should probably call one, by the way, will tell you the same thing. He was sputtering now. You can't just, actually, I can. I am. I did. Sienna said you'd probably be fine with opening the marriage, he tried. She said modern couples. Oh, Sienna said. Well, why didn't you lead with that? If Sienna said it, it must be relationship gospel. Tell me, does Sienna know you're about to be unemployed? What? Harper and Associates has a morality clause. Probably something you should have read in your employment contract. Affairs with subordinates, or people you meet through company events, are grounds for termination. And Sienna was at the company holiday party last December, remember? The one where you introduced her as your wellness consultant. I'd done my homework. Harper and Associates didn't mess around with their reputation. And their HR director, Noelle, was someone I'd met at a charity auction. Someone who'd told me, in confidence, about another executive who'd been fired for exactly this kind of situation. You're going to try to get me fired? Grayson's voice was shaking now. With rage or fear, hard to tell. Me? No. I'm just saying that when messy divorces happen, sometimes information circulates. People talk. Process servers talk. Receptionists talk. And corporate culture being what it is. I let that hang there. This is blackmail. No, sweetie. Blackmail would be me demanding something. I'm not demanding anything. I'm just sharing information. Educational purposes only. Tuesday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. Turned out to be Sienna. You're ruining his life, she said. No hello, just accusation. Hi, Sienna. Great to finally talk to you. How are the macros? This isn't funny. It's a little funny. He loves me. We're building a life together. On my money, apparently. He told me that money was his. And there it was. The crack. Grayson had lied to Sienna too. Told her the $50,000 was his inheritance. His money to spend on her. She'd thought she was dating a generous man, not a thief spending his wife's grandmother's money. Yeah, I said. He's a liar. Shocking, I know. Anyway, good luck with the whole building a life thing. I'm sure his job prospects will be great after this. I hear Target is hiring. You could do couples meal prep in the break room. She hung up. That felt good. Really good. Wednesday, I met with a realtor in Charleston, a city I'd always loved. A city Grayson had always said was too humid and too old-fashioned and too far from good golf courses. Perfect. I'm looking for something in the historic district, I told the realtor, a sharp woman named Gwen. Near the galleries. Space for a studio. And a view, if possible. Budget? She asked. Cash buyer. Up to $800,000. Her eyes lit up. Mrs. Bryant, I have the perfect property. The property Gwen showed me in Charleston was perfect. A renovated townhouse on Church Street, 3 blocks from the art district, with exposed brick walls and original hardwood floors that had survived Sherman's March and 3 hurricanes. The previous owner had been an architect who'd converted the ground floor into gallery space. It's been on the market for 2 weeks, Gwen said. The seller is motivated. Lost his job, needs to relocate fast. Funny how life works. I made an offer that afternoon. Cash. $20,000 over asking. The seller accepted within an hour. Back in Scottsdale, things were falling apart beautifully. Thursday morning, I got a text from Dakota. Turn on Channel 12. I turned it on. Local business news. And there, in a segment about corporate ethics violations, was a very brief mention of personnel changes at Harper and Associates. No names. But the timing was interesting. My phone rang. Martha. Your husband's lawyer called, she said. Calvin Porter. Wants to negotiate settlement terms. Already? Apparently, Grayson's financial situation has become complicated. I smiled. How complicated? Well, he's no longer employed, and Sienna, upon learning that the money he spent on her was actually yours, has dumped him. Also, she's apparently now dating someone named Braxton, who works at the same gym. A personal trainer, I believe. Braxton. Of course, his name was Braxton. So Grayson is unemployed, single, and broke? Not entirely broke. He has about $12,000 in his personal account, and roughly $37,000 in credit card debt, mostly from the Sienna expenses. Community debt, I said, remembering my research. Normally, yes. But given the circumstances, the infidelity, The misuse of your separate property. I can argue that debt should be his responsibility entirely. And I think I can win. Do it. Friday, Grayson showed up at the house. Our house. My house. I'd changed the locks Wednesday, so he couldn't get in. He rang the doorbell 17 times. Same number as his phone calls. The man loved patterns. I opened the door. Didn't invite him in. He looked terrible. Unshaved. Wrinkled shirt. Hair uncombed. This was a man who'd spent 10 years telling me about the importance of professional presentation. Shelby, please, can we just talk? We are talking. Inside. Like adults. Adults don't cheat on their wives and steal their inheritance. But sure, let's discuss adult behavior. He flinched. I didn't steal anything. That money was in a joint account. That you contributed nothing to. That was half technically yours, but you spent all of it, including my half, entirely on your mistress. That you confessed to spending proudly over anniversary dinner. Should I continue, or are we caught up? I lost my job. I heard something about morality clauses and company reputation. You told them. You called HR. Actually, I didn't. But your process server had a big mouth, and your receptionist has a book club with someone in HR. Small world, right? This was true. I'd discovered this through Dakota, who knew the receptionist, who'd mentioned it casually at a coffee shop. I hadn't orchestrated anything. I'd just allowed information to flow naturally. I can't afford a lawyer, Grayson said. Calvin wants $15,000 just for the retainer. Sounds like a personal problem. Everything we built together. Everything I built. I corrected. The house? Mine. Bought during marriage with my premarital trust money. The furniture? Mostly mine. Bought with my money. The car in the driveway? Leased in my name because your credit was too bad to qualify. What exactly did you contribute, Grayson? Besides betrayal and debt. 10 years of marriage. 10 years of you taking up space while I built a life you could parasitically enjoy. That shut him up. Calvin says you want me to take all the credit card debt, he said finally. The debt you accumulated. For your girlfriend. Using your terrible judgment. Yes. That's $37,000. And the $50,000 you spent on Sienna is gone forever. At least debt can be paid off. Consider it a learning experience. I don't have $37,000. Then I guess you'll be making payments for a while. Maybe Sienna can give you budgeting tips. She seems financially savvy. Oh, wait, no. She thought you were rich. Never mind. His face was red. That vein in his forehead was pulsing. The one that only appeared when he was absolutely furious but couldn't do anything about it. You've changed, he said. No, I just stopped pretending your behavior was acceptable. I should get something. Half the house at least. Arizona law. Says separate property stays separate. I bought that house with money from a trust established before our marriage. Martha's already filed the documentation. Your lawyer confirmed it. You get nothing. This is cruel. No. Cruel was spending my grandmother's money on another woman. Cruel was lying to me for 8 months. Cruel was telling me my dreams were cute, while you funded someone else's lifestyle. This is just consequences. Saturday morning, the most beautiful thing happened. I was having coffee on my back patio, my patio, when I saw movement next door. My neighbor, Fern, was gardening. Shelby, she called over the fence. Is it true? About Grayson? News travels fast in suburban Scottsdale. Depends what you heard, I said. That he was cheating. That you're divorcing him. That he lost his job. All accurate. Good for you, Fern said. She was 73, married 50 years, and took exactly zero nonsense from anyone. I never liked him. Too smooth. Like a used car salesman. You never mentioned that. You seemed happy. Or I thought you did. But looking back, she pruned a rosebush thoughtfully. You smiled a lot. But your eyes were sad. I should have said something. I wasn't ready to hear it, I admitted. But I am now. What's next for you? Charleston. I'm buying a gallery space. Opening my own place. Art gallery? The dream you always talked about? I'd mentioned it to Fern once, maybe twice, at neighborhood barbecues. before Grayson would steer the conversation back to his sales numbers or his golf handicap. "That's the one. Your grandmother would be proud," Fern said. She had no idea how right she was. Monday, September 10th, 6 months after filing, I signed the final divorce papers. When you have documentation, cooperative witnesses, and an opponent who can't afford to fight, things move at Arizona's standard timeline. Martha handed me the finalized documents. He signed everything. The debt, the house, the terms. "You're officially free." How did he seem? Defeated, angry. Mostly at himself, I think. Calvin told me Grayson kept saying he didn't think you'd actually do it. There it was. The fundamental miscalculation. Grayson had assumed I was too nice, too invested, too afraid of being alone to actually follow through. He'd mistaken patience for weakness. "Where is he living?" I asked. "Some extended-stay hotel near Tempe. Working as a sales associate at a furniture store while he looks for corporate positions. But with the termination on his record..." She didn't finish. Didn't need to. "And Sienna?" "Engaged to Braxton. They're opening a fitness studio together. She posted about it on Instagram." I pulled up her profile. Sure enough, Sienna and Braxton, matching workout gear, posing with keys to their new studio space. Caption: "New beginnings with my soulmate." Same caption she'd used 8 months ago with a photo of her and Grayson in Cancun. I showed Dakota, who'd come to the lawyer's office for moral support. "Soulmates are apparently interchangeable when they have startup capital," Dakota observed. "True love," I agreed. That afternoon, I packed the last box in my Scottsdale house. The new owner, a lovely couple with twin girls, was moving in Friday. They'd offered asking price plus $10,000 for the furniture. I'd taken it. Everything else I wanted went into a moving truck headed for Charleston. Everything I didn't want went into a donation pile, including every single item Grayson had left behind. His golf clubs, his expensive watch collection, his ridiculous bourbon bottles, his live laugh love gym shirts that Sienna had probably given him. All of it. Gone. Marie Kondo would be proud. Wednesday, I drove to Green Acres Cemetery one last time before leaving Arizona. "Well, Grandma," I said, sitting by her headstone. "He failed the test. Spectacularly. Just like you said he would." The oak tree rustled above me. "The money's safe. The house sold for profit. And I'm opening the gallery. Our gallery. The one you always said I should open. The one you left me the money for." I'd found the letter 3 days ago in the trust documents Martha had given me. An actual letter from Grandma Elsie, written before she died, to be delivered when Shelby accesses the full trust. In it, she'd written, "If you're reading this, either you're 35 or that husband of yours proved me right. Either way, congratulations. You're free. Now go build something beautiful, something that's entirely yours, something no man can take credit for. I believe in you. I always have. Love, your grandma who knows a peacock when she sees one." Peacock. That's what she'd called men like Grayson. "I'm building something beautiful," I told her grave. "And it's all mine. Just like you wanted." The wind picked up, scattering oak leaves across the grass. I chose to believe that was her approval. Thursday, I stood in my new Charleston townhouse, watching the sunset paint the historic district in gold and pink. My furniture wouldn't arrive until Saturday, so I was sleeping on an air mattress like a college student. It was perfect. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry. For everything. I hope you're happy. G." Too little, too late, and honestly, too predictable. I deleted it. Then I blocked the number. Then I opened a bottle of wine, a 2017 Chateauneuf du Pape that cost more than Grayson's weekly salary, and toasted to Grandma Elsie, to Martha Caldwell, to Karma, and to myself. To the woman who'd been there all along, just waiting for permission to stop being nice and start being free. 6 months later, October 15th, I stood in my gallery on Church Street watching the Charleston elite sip champagne and pretend to understand abstract expressionism. The Bryant Gallery. My name, my space, my dream that Grayson had spent 12 years calling cute. Turns out, cute sells. We'd moved $80,000 in art in our first 3 months. Not bad for a hobby. Dakota flew in for the opening. She stood next to me, glass of wine in hand, surveying the crowd. "You did it," she said. "We did it," I corrected. She'd helped me every step, the move, the setup, the marketing plan. You and Grandma Elsie. Speaking of, Dakota handed me her phone. "You need to see this." It was Sienna's Instagram, a post from 3 days ago. She was no longer engaged to Braxton. Apparently, opening a fitness studio requires actual business skills, not just matching workout sets and hashtags. They'd closed after 4 months. Lost everything. The caption: "Sometimes the universe has different plans. Trust the journey." The universe, I said. Not bad financial decisions and zero business plan. The universe. "She's single again," Dakota added. "Posted a thirst trap yesterday with the caption, 'Ready for my next adventure.'" Adventure? Is that what we're calling questionable judgment now? You know what's wild? Dakota scrolled through Sienna's feed. She never once mentioned Grayson, like he just disappeared from her narrative. 8 months of her life, gone. Not even a breakup post. That's the thing about people like Sienna. They don't reflect. They just move to the next thing, the next person, the next soulmate with a credit card and low self-esteem. "What about Grayson?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Last I heard from Fern, who heard from the new neighbors, he's still in Tempe, still at the furniture store. Applied to Harper and Associates 3 times. They haven't responded. Good. Some bridges should stay burned. A woman approached me. Late 50s, elegant, dripping in pearls and old money. "Ms. Bryant? I'm Lorraine Thatcher. I absolutely must have the piece in the corner, the blue one. It speaks to me." The blue one cost $12,000. "Excellent taste," I said. "Let me get you some information." After she left, sale confirmed, delivery scheduled, Dakota raised her glass. "To Grandma Elsie, the real MVP." "To Grandma Elsie," I echoed. That night, alone in my townhouse, I reread her letter. The one from the trust documents. I'd read it probably 50 times, but it never got old. Build something beautiful. Something that's entirely yours. I'd done that. This gallery, this life, this version of me that didn't apologize for existing or minimize her dreams or smile through someone else's betrayal. This was entirely mine. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Again. "Saw your gallery on Instagram. Looks nice. Happy for you." No name, but I knew. Grayson had a tell. He always said, "looks nice," when he actually meant something else. Like when he'd said my career plans looked nice, but meant unrealistic. Or when my cooking looked nice, but meant I'd rather have takeout. I didn't respond. Didn't block the number this time either. Just left it there, unacknowledged. The way he'd left my dreams unacknowledged for 12 years. The difference? I didn't need his validation anymore. November brought the first art festival. The gallery was packed. I sold a commissioned piece to a museum in Charlotte. A magazine did a feature, "New Voices in Southern Contemporary Art." In the photo, I'm standing in front of my favorite piece, an abstract I'd bought from a local artist, all chaos and color and beautiful mess. The caption quoted me, "Sometimes you have to burn down the comfortable to build the extraordinary." The journalist had asked if that was about the art or my life. I'd said yes. December, I flew back to Arizona for Christmas. Not to Scottsdale, I was done with that chapter, but to Sedona, where Dakota's family had rented a cabin. We hiked Cathedral Rock, drank wine by the fire, and didn't talk about Grayson once until the last night, when Dakota asked the question I knew was coming. "Do you regret it? Any of it? The marriage? Or the divorce?" "Either. Both." I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I regret not seeing it sooner," I said finally. "I regret wasting 12 years on someone who saw me as an accessory, not a partner. But the divorce? The gallery? The life I have now?" I shook my head. No regrets there. What if he'd been different? What if he'd actually appreciated you? Then I'd probably still be in Scottsdale, making pot roast, pretending to care about golf, and calling my dreams cute because he did. I stared into the fire. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen is also the best thing. His betrayal set me free. Very philosophical. Grandma Elsie was philosophical. I'm just plagiarizing. Dakota laughed. She'd approve. She'd absolutely approve. Back in Charleston, New Year's Eve, I hosted a party at the gallery. Artists, collectors, friends I'd made in 6 months who knew nothing about Grayson or Sienna or the person I used to be. At midnight, everyone toasted to new beginnings. I toasted to Grandma Elsie, to the woman who loved me enough to prepare me for the worst while hoping for the best, to the woman who knew that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't money, it's strategy. January brought a letter. Actual mail, forwarded from my old Scottsdale address, from Grayson. I almost threw it away. Almost. But curiosity won. Shelby, I've had a lot of time to think. You were right about everything. I took you for granted. I was selfish. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I thought I deserved more when I actually deserved less. I'm in therapy now, trying to understand why I sabotage good things. Anyway, I'm not asking for forgiveness or another chance. I just wanted you to know that I finally see it. You were always the strong one. I was just too insecure to admit it. I hope your gallery is everything you dreamed. You deserve it. Grayson. I read it twice. Then I put it in a drawer and went back to work. Because here's what I'd learned. Closure doesn't come from apologies. It comes from building a life so fulfilling that the past becomes irrelevant. February 14th. Valentine's Day. A man asked me to dinner. A gallery owner from Savannah, charming, age-appropriate, no mentions of nutritionists or macros. I said yes, not because I needed someone, but because I wanted to see what dating felt like when you actually liked yourself. That night, getting ready, I caught my reflection in the mirror. 36 years old, gallery owner, free, happy. Grandma Elsie had been right about everything. The idiot fund worked exactly as designed. And the real inheritance? It wasn't the money. It was the lesson. Never let someone else define your worth. Never apologize for wanting more. And never, ever trust a man who can't remember your allergies. I grabbed my coat and headed out. Behind me, on my desk, next to Grandma's letter, sat a new piece of paper. A goal list for the gallery's second year. Ambitious. Probably unrealistic. Definitely not cute. And absolutely, perfectly mine.